Will you please welcome to the podium our esteemed State Senator, the Honorable Sonia Chang-Díaz.
Set me up there. I'm standing between you guys and breakfast. This is one of my favorite events of the year. We get to talk about Dr. King, his work, his legacy. We get to talk about justice. We get to talk about the next steps on the road ahead. And I'm going to do all of those things here, but I want to start with a story about patience and waiting. I'm a state senator by trade. I work to make laws. And on a good day, I actually get to make good laws. On most days, I'm just taking steps along that long road to get to the good days. Partly due to my own personal investment in justice and partly due to the issues most impacting the communities that I represent here in Boston, I've spent a lot of my time as a lawmaker working on issues of criminal justice reform. And I'm not the only one. There are hundreds of grassroots advocates and their elected allies who have been toiling in the policy vineyards, who have been crafting and drafting proposals to constrict the criminal justice pipeline, to eliminate unconscionable racial biases and disparities in our sentencing laws, and to give people a fair shot at justice. But for the past 4.5 of my 8 years as a lawmaker, we have been told by the big three leaders of the legislative and executive branch on Beacon Hill to wait. In 2012, the legislature passed a 3-strikes bill that substantially increased penalties and lengths of sentences on a whole host of crimes. The then Senate President Therese Murray said at the time that if Governor Patrick signed this tough-on-crime bill, we could then call upon an unbiased, nonpartisan policy group, the Council of State Governments, to do a complete analysis of our criminal justice system, to look at every aspect and decide what further changes were needed. Wait, she said. When Governor Patrick signed the bill, he noted, the Senate President and the Speaker have pledged to return to the subject of mandatory minimum sentencing early in the next session. I take them at their word. Wait, he consented. And wait we did. But nothing happened. Not for the rest of that session, and not at all in 2013. Fast forward to 2014. On the campaign trail for governor, candidate Charlie Baker, to his great credit, pledged his support for repealing mandatory minimums on nonviolent drug offenses, and he was elected. And we waited. In 2015, House Speaker Bob DeLeo and now Senate President Stan Rosenberg revived the idea of asking the Council of State Governments for assistance in recommending criminal justice reforms, including a comprehensive data-driven analysis of sentencing policies. They said the legislature should be patient, wait, before trying to tackle individual sentencing reforms until we could receive the analysis of this group. So the wait continued. By late 2016, the Council of State Governments had been working for months to analyze our policies and data. And while we were expecting our leaders to finally make good on their promises, word got out that the final analysis was not going to touch on the issues of sentencing reform or racial bias that we had been told was coming. Scores of Black and brown protesters demonstrated at the final public meeting of the council, but were told blankly by the all-white panel of appointed experts that were there that sentencing reforms were never part of their charge. After all this waiting, my fellow justice seekers, Dr. King's words from his letter from a Birmingham jail have never rung more true for me. He said, I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's great stumbling block in his stride toward freedom is not the white citizen's counselor or the Ku Klux Klaner, but the white moderate who is more devoted to order than to justice. For years now, Dr. King says, I have heard the word wait. It rings in the ear of every Negro with piercing familiarity. This wait has almost always meant never. Perhaps it is easy when it isn't your life on the line, when it isn't your child, your neighbor, your constituent, to say wait. But Dr. King knew then, just as I know now, that when you have seen whole city blocks where not a single household is untouched by the criminal justice system, where family after family is eroded from its full strength because brother, mother, father, son are missing for years at a time, and they come back from jail more broken than when they went in. When you have seen classroom teachers become despairing and cynical from years of unspoken demand that they take on more and more roles, parent, social worker, trauma counselor, in addition to academic coach, because integral parts of the support system in a child's life are gone. When you have seen mothers drowning in fatigue as they take 5 buses to 2 minimum wage jobs, a parent-teacher conference, the grocery store, the laundromat, and God forbid, a doctor's appointment, because no one, and all before they started again the next day, because no one is there to help her share the load. When you have seen these things, then, says Dr. King, you will understand why we find it difficult to wait. There comes a time when the cup of endurance runs over and men are no longer willing to be plunged into the abyss of despair. I hope, he says, you will understand our legitimate and unavoidable impatience. Dr. King was prescient when he wrote from his jail cell that in the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. I don't want to remember the silence of my friends, so I'm done waiting. I'm here today to call on our friends. My brothers and sisters in the legislature, we have been patient long enough. The time is ripe to do right on true criminal justice reform. To my brothers and sisters in this room, the time is ripe to exact accountability from your elected leaders and push us to live up to our promises, not with a half measure, but a full one. And to our friends, the governor, the speaker, and the Senate president, the time is ripe to stop your waiting to and to live up to your word. Thank you so much, and may God bless us.